All right, make a few brief preliminary announcements, and then we will rock and roll. First of all, I want to do this classroom style. This is not a lecture. This is a class. All right, so if you guys want to generate interaction, discussion, etc., so whenever you guys have questions, just raise your hand, and we're going to do this just like we're in any other class. Everybody got that? Don't be shy. I know you'll want to be immortalized on ARI's website. Now, what I'm going to focus on in this course is the thematic content, the intellectual content, the ideas. It's understanding the Fountainhead. But of course, the Fountainhead, like Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, is literarily a brilliant novel. In order to present the intellectual content of the story, we will certainly be discussing Ayn Rand's plot, her main characters, and in the second session, I even want to spend some time discussing her literary style to analyze, just have some idea what a great writer Ayn Rand is. But we're mostly concerned with the ideas here. And obviously, since I'm a philosophy professor up at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, obviously the philosophy is my main area of expertise. One last preliminary point. I want to read some of the key scenes, just a few here or there throughout these 6 hours that we're going to do on this book, just so Ayn Rand could speak in her own words. And we'll, like I said, I'll read some key passages as we go along. All right. With those preliminaries aside, let's jump in. Start with a synopsis of the story's action that we can use as a springboard into its thematic content. Now, the story opens, of course, with the brilliant young architect Howard Roark expelled from architectural school. Now, why is Roark expelled? Is this like in Animal House? I know some of you guys are pretty young, and Animal House goes back to the late 1970s, but that was such a classic of American film. In fact, Henry Cameron even asks Roark at their first interview, when Roark tells him that he was expelled, Cameron even asks him for what? And he says, for booze, for women, today you'd have to update that for drugs. And Roark, of course, throws down his drawings. Why is Roark expelled? Let's get a little, I see a hand. This lady over here.
Roark is expelled because he angers one of the professors by refusing to draw in particular styles, like imitation Baroque or something like that.
Right. Right. So Roark is expelled because for the originality of not only of his designs, but the striking innovativeness of his methodology. Right. He is not willing to copy the designs of the past. Rather, he is he's a revolutionary thinker, and his method, his style, is new, and it's unknown to many of the professors and the administrators of the Stanford Institute of Technology. It's unrecognizable to them, and they want him to conform to the styles of the past, and he refuses to do so, and that's why he's expelled. Now, his refusal to conform to the standards of others, of course, is a continuing theme that runs throughout the entire story. The novel's foil. Does anybody know what a foil is in a novel? A foil in a novel is not the same thing as the villain, and Keating's not the villain in this story, right? Toohey is. I see a hand over here. He wants to be on TV. Get him the mic.
It's a juxtaposition. It's his opposite. The person, rather than a mirror, it's somebody who balances him out. It's his opposite.
Right. Right, exactly. A foil in a novel is not necessarily an antagonist who opposes the hero's quest to achieve values. The foil is a contrast, right? It's an opposite or a contrast to the hero. Now, Peter Keating, of course, is the foil to Roark in the Fountainhead. He graduates with high honors by two means. One, he gives the professors whatever they want from him. And two, of course, by getting Roark's help with design, with structural problems. Notice that each one of them goes down to New York City from Stanton, which is in Massachusetts. Notice that each one of them goes down to New York City at the same time, each one seeking success in the field of architecture. Roark goes to work for Henry Cameron. Cameron, of course. Anybody, how would you describe Cameron? What kind of guy is he? You've read the book, right? Cameron's like real touchy-feely, friendly, good-natured, warm-hearted kind of guy, everybody's favorite uncle. I see a hand over here. This is a very precocious high school student.
College student, about to graduate. Cameron was, Cameron is is kind of a burnout, isn't he? He's really drunk, cynical, completely. All of his ideas he's been constantly in opposition, and he is weary from the battle. He's just completely burned out from having to fight every step of the way.
I think certainly in part that's true, although it doesn't give Cameron a lot of credit, does it? I mean, Cameron, first of all, is an architectural genius, and he's enormously innovative. He's far ahead of his time. He's one of the first architects in the 1880s to design skyscrapers. So he's revolutionary, and of course, even more important than that, he's a man of uncompromising artistic integrity. And this is what makes Cameron such a giant. Cameron refuses to compromise. He sticks to his principles. He sticks to his guns. He will never, even for a second, like Stephen Mallory, for 1 second, wants to design that baby plaque. He has the inkling. Mallory does. He's going to conform, even though he never carries through it. The thought never even occurs to Cameron, not even for a second. Society doesn't like my ideas. Too damn bad for society. So he is absolutely an uncompromising moral giant, as well as an architectural genius, which is why Roark comps to him. But the bad news, of course, is Cameron refuses to compromise, but he's accepted the price for that. He's a commercial failure, right? And consequently, he's bitter, he's angry, he's irascible, he's turned to drink, he's alcoholic. Certainly Roark will learn one thing from Cameron, and that is how to build. I see a hand.
Can we say, in a sense, that Cameron is also a foil, because unlike Roark, he's a failed hero?
That's an interesting question. Is Cameron also a foil? A foil generally means a contrast to the main character, and there is that one element of contrast there, that Cameron is not quite as independent as Roark is, but there's too much similarities there, I think, for Cameron to be considered a foil. They're essentially the same. They're very similar kind of individuals. Notice the similarities and differences here. Both are geniuses. Both are ahead of their time. Both are utterly independent in their cognition, that is, in their thinking, and both are utterly independent in their action. Neither will compromise in thought or in action. The difference is that, this is my interpretation anyway, that Cameron has not integrated the virtue of independence throughout his emotional life. It rankles him that he's rejected. It hurts him. It makes him bitter. It festers in his soul. And emotionally, it makes him angry. Whereas Roark has integrated the virtue of independence, not only in his intellect and in his actions, but I think also in his emotional life. He remains basically unaffected by society's rejection. His self-esteem is so high, based on his own ability and willingness to face reality and deal with reality, that the rejection of society leaves Roark essentially untroubled. I won't say when the started temple is torn down, he doesn't say it doesn't hurt. He tells Dominique it's a pain that goes down to a certain point. And I think for Roark, what that means is that I've lost my baby, I've lost this great building. But I don't think it's a self-esteem issue for Roark. It's like for Roark, it's as if the building had been destroyed by an earthquake, not rejected by other people. So he lost his baby. It's the loss of a value. but it's not a self-esteem issue to him. It doesn't make him feel like, you know, I'm less of a man, I'm less of a person. The rejection of society does not affect Roark, where it affects at the emotional level. It affects Cameron at the emotional level, and Mallory as well. And that, I think, is the key difference, is the integration of the virtue of independence throughout one's entire character and personality. Whereas, no, you get the idea. I can go on for days and we'll never finish. But that's a good question. Thank you. Now, so Roark goes to work for Cameron, where he'll learn one thing and only one thing, namely how to build. And was Keating, of course, as they say, birds of a feather flock together. Keating, of course, goes to work for Guy Francon. And notice the French name here, you know, Guy Francon. He's a little bit pretentious. Not that people who are French are necessarily pretentious. Got to be politically correct and get that in there. But Francon, of course, is a mediocre architect, but he's a tremendous commercial success, and he's the head of the leading. He's president of the leading architectural firm in the country, and he is that success because he's charming. He's the Bill Clinton of. No, I take that back. That has other connotations, but. People who know Clinton personally say he's enormously charming. He's got enormous personal charisma. And Francon, of course, has charisma. He's charming. He has all the social graces. He's expert at matching his meals with his wines and his ties with his socks. I'm sure he doesn't shop at Walmart like I do. He can afford to shop at the Bloomingdale's men's store. And he has a willingness, of course, to satisfy society's expectations. So this is the way that Francon has achieved success. And what Keating will learn from Francon has little or nothing to do with architecture. What Keating will learn from Francon is how to wine and dine prospective clients, how to woo them, how to charm them, how to win them over by means of the social graces, not by means of the merit of his buildings. So Keating rises quickly in Francon's firm. He's a natural. He becomes Francon's partner by manipulating his colleagues, by giving the boss what he wants, and of course by getting Roark's help when he actually does have to design something. As I say, he learns how to wine and dine prospective clients, not how to build. Roark, of course, learns how to build from Cameron, and or increases his, gets mentoring, expert mentoring from Cameron in the principles of architecture and of design, how to build. Now, key point in the story, of course, is Keating, with Roark's aid in designing the structure of the building. Keating wins the competition for the prestigious Cosmo Slotnick building, the world's most beautiful building, right? It's very Hollywood. And of course, at that same point in the story, we're at the end of part one, Roark Roark opens his own office after Cameron's death, but because of the revolutionary nature of his designs, finds very few clients and has to close his business temporarily and earn a living by working in a granite quarry. Now, while working at the quarry, Roark meets Dominique Francon. This is good stuff. You never knew such exciting things went on in granite quarries, did you? Until you read the Fountainhead. And no doubt some questions will come up when we get there regarding the so-called rape scene, which we can just analyze for hours, and which I've written a whole essay analyzing. But anyway, he meets Dominique Francon, who's a fascinating character in and of herself. She is a beautiful, highly intelligent, probably brilliant, and above all, idealistic, that is in love with human beings at their highest and best, but profoundly disillusioned and pessimistic daughter of Guy Francon. She loves Roark immediately. She pursues him aggressively in those granite quarry scenes, but quickly initiates a pattern of resisting the success of their relationship, which goes on for years until she's finally ready to marry Roark. Right after that, Roark is recalled to New York City by Roger Enright, who hires him to build an innovator